I'm going to prove to you, possibly maybe, that Jesus was a sinner. All right. So this whole thought process came about because of this question that was asked by one of my subscribers, where he said that since Jesus was born of Mary, born of a woman, born after Adam and Eve, that Jesus was either born a sinner or born into sin, right? Now, I know what the first response of most Christians is going to be, and the first thought of people who have deconstructed is the fact that Jesus was supposedly born to a virgin, and that Jesus has always been, and then therefore he is sinless. But he was born from a virgin in a body of flesh. And in Genesis, at the end of the Noah story, this God did say that every thought of man from birth is evil. And Jesus was born as a man. Now, let's tackle, and I'm going to kill two birds with one stone on this one. And I'm not taking the way we think about killing two birds with one stone in today's world. I'm gonna give you the idea of two birds with one stone from both how we reflect on it today and what its original meaning was. Because original meaning means everything. So let me show you what the other bird that we're gonna hit with this one stone also said. My guy here said that when you read Revelation 16, and in the end of Revelation 16 it says that Jesus is from the seed of David. That Jesus has the lineage of David, right? And that would tell you who his real father was, and that Mary was not a virgin. So the reason why he's saying this is that when you look at the lineage of the so-called the character Jesus lineage through Joseph goes back to King David, and that is through Joseph. Although Luke and Matthew have variances in their chronology as to all the begotten, because Luke has more begotten, I believe, than Matthew, or it's vice versa. But either way, it's not exactly the same. But David, born a man, comes through the lineage of Joseph, who is a man. Now, if Joseph didn't have anything to do with this birth, then Jesus wouldn't be a part of David's lineage, because your lineage, according to the people of that day, was not matriarchal. It was patriarchal. It went through the man. It went through the father. So in order for Jesus to be connected to King David, to which many of you believe the prophecies are stating that he is, it had to go through Joseph. So if he wasn't born from Joseph's seed, then he cannot be from the seed of David. And even in the gospel, it's when he returned to Nazareth, the people said that's Joseph's son. They didn't say that's Mary's son, that's God's son, that's Joseph's son, indicating that he was born from a man and not born from God. Now, also, with people thinking about the word virgin, in Isaiah, when it prophesies about someone who will come and bring Israel back, and they use the word Alma. Alma has two meanings. It means young woman, or it can mean virgin. But in most instances in the Bible, it just means a young woman. Doesn't say anything about her chastity, just young woman. And plus, Isaiah wasn't talking about Jesus. Isaiah was talking about Hezekiah. He was talking because he talked about a woman who has already conceived. So Isaiah was talking about something that happened in the BCE, not the CE. And it is most likely referring to Hezekiah and not Jesus. But the Greek translation translated Alma strictly into virgin, and that's why people say it. That's why we're killing two birds with one stone. Because the original meaning of killing two birds with one stone was that it is an impossibility, more than likely, for you to be able to kill two birds with one stone. But we've changed the meaning of that to being very easily, or the best route is to do something that takes care of two issues instead of handling them separately by just casting one stone. So you see how we've changed what something means linguistically? This is also the change that the church especially after the Council of Nicaea, made Mary, Jesus, mother of Jesus, a perpetual virgin, that she never get no ping. But if Mary never got any ping from Joseph, Jesus is not from the line of David, which then cancels him as the coming Messiah. But Isaiah was talking about Hezekiah, not the other way around. Now back to my other guy's thing. So now that we've established that Jesus was born from two humans, and according to the Bible, all humans who were born, and even if he was just born from one human, all their thoughts are evil. Now, I'm going to tell you how Jesus sinned and how he is a sinner. Because even one sin makes you a sinner, right? According to the Bible, it is a sin to cause another person to stumble. Meaning that if you're an enabler to someone else's sinning, then you are sinning by being that enabler. I think we can all agree on that. The Bible also says, do not be given unto too much wine, do not become intoxicated. Those are sinful things. That's also a sin of gluttony, of over-consuming. I think we can all agree on that. The very first miracle that Jesus performs is that he turns water into wine. Now, most people would think, well, what is the sin in turning water into wine? People back then drunk wine very often. Many of the excuses is the fact that the water was so toxic that they had to drink a lot of wine. You can go either way on that one, but the culture of that day, they drink a lot of wine. But it is the place and the timing of the water into wine that makes Jesus an enabler, causing a men to stumble, enabling intoxication and gluttony. Because at a wedding, when you start serving the wine, you initially serve your best wine. And then as people become more intoxicated, you then serve your cheaper wine. Much like when the bartender, when you first get a drink, they give you a nice strong drink with a lot more liquor in it. But as the night goes on, they begin to dilute how much liquor they put in it because you're too intoxicated to be able to tell the difference. Because you're in a state of gluttony, you're in a state of intoxication, which are sins, according to this book. So Jesus is at this wedding. He gives in to the peer pressure of his mother, the Vestal Virgin here. But he gives into the pressure of his mother to perform the miracle of turning water into wine because they had ran out of wine at the wedding. They done got so drunk that they have even drank the bad wine. That's how drunk they were. But then Jesus turns the water into wine to keep the party going, y'all. Got to keep the party going. And when he turned it into the wine, a man approaches and says, oh, this is so different because you saved the best wine for last. Because normally you serve the best wine first. And since they've got, like I said, gotten rid of all the old wine, now he's serving them up some good wine. So these people are already drunk, already intoxicated, already in a state of gluttony, already in a state of sin. And Jesus is furthering that intoxication. Jesus is making them stumble into even more sin by further intoxicating the people. Therefore, Jesus is a sinner and did sin at least that one time by being that enabler. Because if you walk, would you walk out the church, you see a person who is intoxicated, would you give them water or would you give them more wine? Would you give them water or would you give them more liquor? Would you give them water or would you give them some more beer? Most people are moral enough to see a drunk person and not further intoxicate the drunk people. Even our basic sense of morality tells us that. But Jesus instead makes the people even more drunk, violating multiple sins, enabling, causing men to stumble, intoxication and gluttony. What y'all